Hey guys, in today's video, we're checking out the Shure GLX-D wireless system. This is part 3 in my video series for going over all the different Shure wireless systems. In the first video, we went over the BLX. The second video, we went over the PGX, and this is the next level up. This is the Shure GLX-D. I actually used this one for about a year and a half, so I'm very familiar with it. And I'm going to go over how it works, setup, specs, who would want this, who would not want it, pros and cons, so on and so forth. Most of this stuff in this video, you're going to be able to follow along. If you want a more in-depth discussion about what you should be looking for in a wireless system, you should check out my master video that I did about what to look for in a wireless system, and I go more in depth about some of the specs that you want to look for, but you should still be able to follow along with this video without watching it. But if you want more in-depth info, go check out that video. Also, for this video, I'm going to be demoing this with a wireless microphone. However, this will cover working with a body pack, so you can use it with a guitar or bass, something like that, or with, a headset mic or a lavalier mic. I'll also go over the different microphones that are available for the GLX series, as well as the difference because there is the GLXD and there's also the GLXD Advanced, and I'm going to go over the difference about all of those in this video. So before we get started, I post videos like this all the time, stuff on wireless, in-ear monitors, MIDI, programming, gear reviews, finding cheap gear on Amazon for musicians, stuff like that. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell. All right, let's get started. All right, so the setup is very basic. This is your receiver right here. You plug in the back. It's actually really nice that this one, you plug it in and then you twist to lock it into place, so it doesn't ever accidentally get unplugged, which is really nice. Flip the switch on back here, turn it on, and you can see it lights up and it's ready to go. In the back, so if you're using this like with a microphone, you're going to plug in XLR in the back here, and then this will go to whatever source you're trying to go to, so a mixer or front of house or whoever you're trying to send the signal to. If you're using this with a body pack with a guitar, you can go instrument out and plug that into like your first pedal or something like that. And again, for this video, I'm using a microphone. Basically, all you do is you put in this battery. This is a specific Shure battery. This is the SB902 battery. It goes in like this. And this is actually really awesome, and I'm going to show you why here in a little bit. But just slide it in there, cover it up, turn it on, light turns green, and you can see that you're getting information already on here. So the RF signal, it starts when the mic is off. You don't get the RF signal. Turn it on, and it's found it. And also, what's really cool about this system is it gives you the battery life, how much battery life is left in your transmitter. Really cool stuff. So I'm going to go over more details about scanning and stuff like that here in a second, but first let's go over some of the specs. So if you are going to use this with a microphone, you can use it with the SM58, the SM86, the Beta 58A, or also my favorite, the Beta 87A. This is the first one. The BLX and the PGX did not have the Beta 87. This is the first one that has it. That's personally my favorite microphone to use with a male vocalist, especially one with a deep voice like mine. So here it says how many systems can you use per band. It says typical up to 4 and up to 8 maximum. I'm going to go into more detail about that later, but basically you can use up to 4 of these systems at once in a typical setting. In the most cleanest environment, you can use 8 maximum. There's real-time battery display in minutes, which is really nice about the system. There's multiple charging methods, both USB and car charger available. The battery life is up to 11.5 hours from a fully charged battery, and this one uses the SB902A battery. It says up to 16 hours if you use the SB902. So you can buy a stronger battery if you need that much, but 11 hours or 16 hours, that's both awesome battery life. It says about the charging, about 15 minutes to charge allows up to 1.5 hours of use, and so on and so forth. The operating range indoors is up to 100 feet line of sight. The maximum is about 200 feet. Outdoors up to 35 feet line of sight, and then 135 feet in ideal conditions. The frequency response is from 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. That is going to depend on your microphone, of course, but the system itself does receive the full frequency spectrum. And then this is in the 2.4 gigahertz frequency range, which is something I'm going to cover in a little bit more depth in a little bit. It's not my favorite frequency, and that's probably the biggest downfall of the GLX system, even though everything else is awesome. However, they still have addressed some of the issues with the GLX, but I'm going to get to that in a little bit. So those are some of the specs. All right, so now for some of the stuff with the transmitter and the receiver. Okay, so I'm going to darken the screen a bit just so you can see what's going on. Okay, so the thing that's really nice about this system is it gives you a bunch of information here. You can see the group, the channel, the battery life that's left, and you can also see where the gain's at. So in order to scan and sync, it's really easy. You have the channel button right here. Push the button, and you can see it's scanning through, and it found 2.1 as the best channel. You see right now, it found that channel, but what's awesome is that most of the time, then I have to go over to, I have to use the microphone, and I have to go and push sync and then rescan. What's cool about this system is it automatically pairs with your microphone once you set that up. I'm going to show you how to do that. But that's a really cool feature about this is that you need to scan. You hit scan, it finds the best channel, but then it auto pairs with your device. So you don't have to resync it, which is really nice. So that's how you scan for the best channel. So if you want to change the channel manually, you can push the channel button, hold it, and then manually change it like that once it starts blinking. But I'm going to put it back to the channel that it found, the best one, to group 2, channel 1. And you can do the same thing with group if you want to change the group settings. So you hold the group button. So now I can change to group 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that's actually a really important step, which I'm going to explain here in a little bit. All right, lights are back up. This is one of the coolest things is you have a battery charger port right here. So you flip this little switch, and here's the battery. So this is that battery that it uses, the SB902. But what's cool is this is how you charge it. You leave it in here, push it in, and it starts charging. And it'll be red when it's not charged, and it'll be green when it is charged. I love this about this system because you always, if you get two of these batteries, so let me go ahead and take the one out of this one right now. So right now, the battery life is there was about 6 hours left of battery in this one. So I'm going to take this one out. This is a new one. It's fully charged. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to put the one that needs to be, that had 6 hours left in here to charge. You can see the light is red while it's charging. I turn this on. It's calculating the battery life, and it says I have 14 hours and 21 minutes left. That's awesome, and that's one of the best things about this system is that while you're playing, your battery is charging if you have 2 of these. So if if you get to the show and you see, oh, I only have 3 hours of battery life left, I'm about to do a 4-hour set, swap them out, and it'll charge while you're playing, and you never, ever have to worry about the battery dying on you during the show. I love that about this system. It is so cool. I've never had to charge while I was using this because I use the 2 batteries. However, if you do want to charge, you can always charge over the micro USB port right here. All of them have that option if you wish to charge it that way. Also on here, you do have gain control. So these buttons right here will adjust the gain. So right now you can see I'm at +2. If that's too hot, I can turn it down. It goes as low as -20, I believe, or you can turn it up, and it goes all the way to +40, which I'd be surprised if you ever needed it that high. But it's nice to have easy access to gain control if the signal's too hot or too quiet. There's also an option to lock all of these settings so nothing changes. So if you push the group and the channel button together, it says lock. So now if I accidentally bump a button or something like that, so it gives me this LK, meaning that it's locked and it won't change. So that's good if you don't want it. If you like these settings, you want it to be on this channel, and you don't want someone to accidentally bump it and change it. To unlock it, you push those 2 buttons again, and now it's unlocked, and I can make changes. So, like I mentioned, when I turn this system on, it finds the transmitter that it's set to. So that is achieved by this link button right here. So on every single transmitter, whichever one you get, there's a link button. The way you do this is you turn on the transmitter, and then within 5 seconds, press and hold the link button. And right now it's flashing. It's saying that it needs to find what receiver to link with. Push the link button on this, push and hold it. It starts blinking, put them next to each other, and voila. It found this system, and now these are paired together. So very, very cool. Very cool system. Something else that's really cool about this, you can see that there is USB port back here. And like we mentioned earlier, there's a USB port here. That is actually used to update the firmware as well. This system, you can also update the firmware and get the latest firmware and any updates that they find a better way to transmit, and you can always update this stuff. Okay, so the different configurations. So first of all, there's the GLX-D and then the GLX-D Advanced. Now, all of them you can get with the microphone options, which again are the SM58, the Beta 58, the SM86, or the Beta 87, which again is my favorite. You can also get it with a guitar or body pack transmitter, which can be used for guitar or bass or any instrument, or with a headset mic or with a lavalier mic. The main differences between the GLX-D and the GLX-D Advanced is the GLX-D, as you can see, has the antennas that are attached to the system. You can't remove these antennas. With the GLXD, you can, and those are rack mountable. So you can have them in a rack. You can still rack these. They make, shelves, or you can just Velcro it down, which is what I did when I used it, but it doesn't work with a rack. So the GLXD Advanced, since you can take the antennas off, that can work with frequency managers and antenna combiners and stuff like that, which gives you more control and makes it better, because if you have too many antennas right next to each other, you're more likely to get dropouts. So with the antenna combiner and frequency managers, you basically plug all the antennas out of the back into this antenna combiner, and then you only have one pair of antennas that transmits to all four systems. Say if you're using four systems, so you only have one antenna instead of the 4 or 8, however you want to count it, which is really cool. And also the kind of flag antenna, which you might have seen before at like bigger shows. They use these all the time. They definitely give you better wireless signal when you use these. Is the Shure PA805Z2-RSMA. It's a mouthful for sure, but you can use that and get a better signal, better reception, There's a lot of things that you get with those flag antennas, as they're called, but that's not really what this video is about, but that option is there if you want to use it with the GLXD Advanced. The main thing is that the GLXD can work with 4 systems in the usual conditions and 8 systems at once in the best conditions. With the GLXD Advanced, it's able to work with up to 9 systems in most conditions and up to 11 systems at once with the best conditions. Everything else is basically the same with the GLX and the GLXD. So that might not be a huge difference with you. Okay, so for pricing. Okay, so I'll post the link in the description down below. And just a side note, they are Amazon affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything else, but it does help out my channel if you do use the links down below in order to purchase these, so I would appreciate it. But this one link is awesome for buying like with a microphone system. So you can choose the standard one, which is the GLXD, or rack mount, which is the GLXD Advanced. So you get the option right here, and then you can choose your microphone. So the SM7B is the standard one, which is $500. Beta 58A is going to go up about $50. SM87 is going to be about the same price, and then the most expensive one, of course, is the one that I like, 87A, which is $589. Basically, with any of those, if you get GLXD Advanced, so it basically bumps it up by $100. So the SM58 is now $600. The Beta 58 is now $650, so on and so forth. As far as for a guitar system, you're looking at about $450, and it's cool because it comes with this pedal instead, but almost everything is the exact same in this one. But I mean, there's definitely a very different look to this one. So that is one of the options. So you can have it as the guitar pedal system, or you also have it with just the standard receiver as well, if you would prefer to do that. All right, a quick note about the different groups. So like I mentioned earlier, how many can you use at once? That's a big thing with this system, especially since it's on 2.4 gigahertz, which is something I'm going to go over here in a little bit as well. In the manual, they give you this handy little thing about the differences between the groups. So groups 1 and 2, so it says, group 1 is the initial factory. Group 2 is the best multi-channel group if you experience interference. Group 3 is what you should use if you have a controlled Wi-Fi environment. You have, you are in complete control of everything going on in the wireless Wi-Fi environment there. And 4 is the best for single channel group. So if you are only using one of these. So what's cool about this, so in group 1, it says how many channels, numbers of receivers that you can use at once, up to 4, and how many backup frequencies are available. So what happens with this system, if it finds interference on the channel, there's 3 different channels that you can find as a backup frequency, which is really nice that it'll jump around. With group 2, you can use up to 5, but again, 4 is typical, as it says down at the bottom. So I don't really understand a whole lot of the difference between 1 and 2. They both seem to be fine and very similar, because 2 also has 3 backup frequencies. Now in group 3, that's where you can use up to 8 receivers, but there are no backup frequencies. So you have to know what is going on in your area. What is the wireless environment like? Because if it gets interference, you get dropouts. There's no backup frequencies for it to jump to. So I usually don't recommend using that one unless if you really, really know what you're doing. And then with group 4, you can use one of them at once on group 4, but there are 27 backup frequencies to find. So I did find this while using these if I was just using one of these at the same time, there were no other GLX systems or other 2.4 gigahertz systems being used, using group 4 was the best because it had 27 backup frequencies that you can use if you needed to find one. So that's why you would switch between the different groups. If you're using 2 to 4 systems at once, I would recommend group 1 or 2, usually 2. If you're using just one GLX system at once, you should use just group 4. And if you really know what you're doing and want to be ballsy, you can do group 3. It's up to you. Okay, so the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. This is the, man, I love this GLX system. Everything that they thought of is so cool. 2.4 is probably the toughest one. And you can see in the manual, they actually give you reasons why there are challenges in 2.4 and why it's a little bit more unpredictable. So the long story short, you can pause it here if you really want to read all of this, or you can look it up in the manual. But 2.4 is used by, like, you know, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and garage door openers and microwaves and even stuff like that. So it's unpredictable of what the signal is going to be like. That's where it gets a little bit tough with the GLX system. You are still able to use this system. I don't want it to sound like you can never use it, but challenging environments for 2.4 include areas with very few reflective surfaces, such as outdoors or buildings with really high ceilings, 3 or more GLXD receivers in use at once, a strong Wi-Fi in presence, anything that's really competitive in 2.4 gigahertz in use. In the manual, it does give you this nice handy guide explaining how to get the best out of your wireless performance. So like I mentioned earlier, for single channel systems, use group 4. If you're only using one of these at once, that's great. Multi-channel systems, use group 2, which is great. Keep it away from Wi-Fi access points, computers, or other active 2.4 gigahertz sources. So they recommend staying up to 10 feet away from like a Wi-Fi router and stuff like that. They also recommend to disable Wi-Fi on computers and stuff like that. Keep the transmitters and receivers more than 6 feet apart. That definitely is another way to help. And that's true just in general. I mean, you can get away with a certain amount, but that's definitely helpful advice. So these are definitely ways to help your best chance with a 2.4 gigahertz system. And actually, I'm going to link to an article down in the description of a site that explained why the GLX is actually the best system for managing 2.4 gigahertz compared to all the other ones. It's actually the best one, doing a really nerdy and rigorous testing that some of it even goes over my head, but I'll link to that if you really want to find out more. So my final thoughts. So when I used this system, I loved it. It was actually really easy. I love the battery and stuff like that. Once we started using 3 of them, I used 3 wireless microphones in my band. All 3 were GLX. And once I started doing that, then we started having problems with them. Not every show, you know, because you're, you know, use up to 4 in a typical environment. But once you start having a challenging 2.4 gigahertz environment, that's where we started running into problems. I changed to 2 different ones, and then our singer kept his. Doing that helped a lot, and he was able to just transmit on group 4, and everything was a lot better. Again, most of the time it would work, but for me, I wish that they did the exact same setup and just did it on a different frequency. That's my personal thoughts on the GLX. Having said that, it is still a great system. Being able to use only up to 4 in the most ideal environment is a little too limiting for me personally at this price range, but I still think that it's still usable, especially with how easy it is to use, and that battery port, I love that. The auto syncing is amazing. It's definitely worth it, in my opinion, for that reason. If you are going to go the route of an antenna combiner and a frequency manager, the GLX-D Advanced is still a great one. I personally would just recommend looking into the SLX, which is the next video that I'm going to do, which is just a little bit more than this one. Again, it depends on your price budget. You could still definitely get away with the GLX-D Advanced, and the amount of stuff that you can do with it is amazing, and it's definitely worth it, and I could definitely think you can get away with this. Personal recommendation, I would recommend looking into the SLX, which is the next level up, which is the next video that I'm going to do, so don't forget to subscribe to see that in the future when that video comes out, but I still think this is a great system. So that's basically it. I hope this helped you guys out. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, just hitting the like button does a lot to help out, to please the YouTube algorithm gods and recommend my video and my channel to more people, so I'd really appreciate that. Links again are in the description down below if you want to purchase this system using any of the links in the description down below. It does help out my channel just a little bit. It doesn't cost you anything extra, so I would appreciate that. It's an easy way to help out the channel. Don't forget to check out my other videos that I've done on the Shure Wireless series. Next up is the Shure SLX series, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when that video comes out. Thank you guys again for watching. Check out some of my other playlists about different wireless gear or in-ear monitors and stuff like that if you're interested in finding out more about those topics. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.